Here we go. Dale.
Matt, how you going?
I would say welcome, but I don't think we're up and live just yet. So we'll just give it a bit of a window to get going, and then we'll get stuck into it, mate. So
Definitely, I'm excited.
Oh, of course, no doubt. What's not to be excited about, eh? Looking like we're just hitting Facebook now, and there's a few other places that we'll be going live. So let's punch into this gallery view and just get you into the picture, and we'll give people a bit of a chance to jump on. See if a couple of people jump on, and I'm pretty excited to get into this.
Yeah, man. Well, it's important stuff. It's and often overlooked.
It's more than often overlooked.
Yeah, and, yeah, that's true. I was being kind.
Yeah, no worries. So let's just give the internet a little bit of a chance to populate through, and let's see if people are jumping on. And just going to check the technical side of things, and we'll get stuck into it in a couple of minutes. So we'll be with you very soon, everyone. Fantastic. All right, I can just see a couple of little WhatsApps, but they're only coming through as Facebook users. We're trialing some new software right now, so yeah, you might have to bear with us. But look, the stream will go fine, but we're hoping to get some comments in that batch together. And at the moment, I'm just getting some WhatsApp. So yeah, if you are there, shout us a comment, and I will do my best to hopefully react to you, and hopefully it doesn't say you're a Facebook user, because at the moment it's giving me a few Facebook users saying g'day. So I would love to know who you are, and maybe my team can help me out with that in a minute. Let's just give me a quick glance on my Facebook. Here we go. We've got a few. I'll have to use the other for them. So Marty York says, "What's up?" Najma says, "What's up?" Amy Thurkel's here. Tasha's here. Okay, there's a few people jumping on board, so that's awesome.
Sweet.
All right, well, we're a couple of minutes in. We're live on Facebook. At least we know that much. And why don't we jump into it, Dale? So the topic for today is how to position your business to stand out from the crowd, or your business, your brand. And I just thought, what better person than a guy I work with pretty closely on a lot of brands, Dale Wallace. Wanted you to join us today, and I really wanted to dig into some of the stuff that we talk about and go through with some businesses and brands, and like you've spent 12 years now, 10 years in Australia doing this stuff. So you build and position brands, design logos, design all digital assets from websites and imagery right through to offline print, books. I mean, all this sort of stuff. But we wanted to, I wanted to get this chat out there, because especially in this sort of ecosystem and environment that we're in now with COVID and everything that's happening in the world, now sort of more important than ever to really nail down who you are and who you're talking to, and who's going to be your customer, right? So
without a doubt.
That's it. So yeah, anyway, let's super glad to have you here, and welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the intro. And
did I do it justice?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
You've been doing this for a while, yeah.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean much, but no. Look, so awesome to have you. We work together pretty closely on a lot of stuff, and I'm really excited to get some of your content and thoughts out there. So, how to position your business to stand out from the crowd really is a branding thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's more about branding, and then because your business really is your reputation and brand that stands out in front. So I wanted to start the conversation just by just reminding everyone, or for those that might not be so familiar with the concept, really what is a brand?
Yeah, sure. It is something that people may not be aware of, or get confused about. But the easy place to start is to say, well, it's not, your brand is not your logo. Your logo is just an identifier for your brand. It's not your website. It's not even a product. It's the perception of your business in the minds of your audience, the people you serve. Marty Newmeyer says it best, and I'll probably mention him a couple of times in there because he's written the books on these things. But it's brand isn't what you say; it's what they say. So, and like you said, it's reputation. That's exactly what it is. You have to build a good reputation. We know personally our reputation, we can't control our reputation, but we can influence it based on how we act and how we speak to people and what we do for people. And it's the exact same with a business. You've got to align all of those things. You've got to align your behavior. You've got to align your verbal expression and your visual expression. And then the way to stand out as a business is to take all of that and position your business from a unique perspective. What's different about your business? And we've been doing this with a few businesses recently, and it's a challenging, fun, explorative process that it's you're essentially just whipping the mirror out and putting it in front of them and just talking. All right, cool. Asking them questions and saying, okay, is that it? Is that really a reflection? And you dive deep into it to find something compelling.
I'm glad you used the mirror analogy because it really is interesting. What what's coming to mind is people have so many blind sides in this. Like they might think that they get a nice logo and maybe a nice like sign written car or something like that for their, let's say, window cleaning business. And then they let their staff members dress really scruffily and talk a certain way or whatever. So it's so much more than just some branding and some business cards or whatever that collateral is. It's the entire representation of your business out there, and that goes from social media, right through to how you talk on the phone, to how and when how you invoice. What does everything look like? What does all those touch points feel like for your customers and your suppliers and your staff? I mean, it goes so much deeper than really a logo, which is what is sort of considered 80% of a brand for people.
I mean, and there is value in that, particularly for the bigger brands who've built a lot of equity around that. So the familiarity comes there. But you're dead right. It's every single touch point, and they need to be aligned. If you rebrand in the common thought of it is, it's making everything look prettier. And I've spent many years doing that. If you don't get the verbal side of it, the communication, your messaging, right? But say you do, and it's all pretty, and those are the customer touch points leading up, and then they convert through your marketing. And then you've set an expectation in their mind, you set a perception in their mind, and then when they get to your team or your staff or you, and it doesn't match up, it can start to erode your credibility.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, say for example, Coca-Cola, right? Now, I mean, obviously the logo, the colors, that they are a really prominent piece of the brand, and you can find them everywhere. I mean, we probably sometimes forget how often we probably see that logo in our day-to-day activity, movement, driving past a cafe or a kiosk or whatever. But they're very consistent, and you may or may not think that way, but they're really consistent in every product that's out there. They're very consistent, I know, because I have worked with them many years ago in how they, how do their sales reps and different people in the business operate and communicate and what they do. But it's that incredible consistency that that every time the logo is a big part of their brand now, but it's because that every time you see that logo and you go to have a product that is that brand, what you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly what you're going to get, and you can the big brands are easy ones to use because as examples because everyone's familiar with them, and then the power in creating a unique brand that people can get behind, or at least just sets you apart, means you're not really competing with anyone on a deeper level because you're not comparable. So that's why people like Apple can charge higher prices, because they've created a tribe. Now that's hard to do in small business sense, but you do get your loyal customers, and that's what you understand. You get your.
You can have a tribe. It's just a bit smaller, right?
Exactly, and they refer you. It's and like every tradie knows this. They're living off referrals. You do a good job for someone, so in a branding sense, you delight your customer, you match or you exceed the expectations, they're going to refer you. And that's the flip side of what I mentioned earlier. Imagine what if you have this great business, great culture, your customers, your clients love it, they love dealing with you, they're recommending you, but the touch points before that, your branding, your messaging, your logos, your marketing are non-existent or a bit, they don't paint the picture of this awesome thing. Why neglect that? Because if you elevate that to that level, there's just so much consistency across the board. They know what they're going to get. They know what they're going to get. And it's going to help you get more.
That's it, 100%. So we've got a few more people that have jumped on, which is cool. So Daryl, welcome. Dale's in here, Carolyn, Marty. So there's a bunch of people jumping on. So if you guys want, if you have any questions about branding and how to position your business to stand out, we'll probably have a little bit of time to jump back into that. And this is only going to be a fairly short little live here. So another maybe 20 minutes or so. And but just if you've got any questions around that, we're going to dig into a few of the core steps on where you want to go. But look, thanks for jumping on, and we'll get started. So chuck it in. I'm on Facebook here, but wherever you are, because we're testing some new software out, you might be able to be following us on YouTube or otherwise. So just let us know, and the comments should be coming through to me all at once. Always a bit sketchy when you're trying a new piece of software, but you can only really try it live. So welcome to the show. Who knows what it's going to be about? But branding is where we're going to stay for now. Now, Dale, what are the steps, mate? So where do we go to from here? We now understand what a brand really is and what that is, for our business. And let's not forget that as a person, we are a business as well. So if we're an employee, we just have one client. Largely, that's our employer. But then we have some sort of sub clients, which is anyone we might work with. We're also a brand ourselves. So we're all a brand. We're all a reputation. What are the core steps that you need to think about to sort of step out and stand out for success yourself with your business and your brand?
It's it involves at its core, and the way I take it, involves clarity, but it involves, and I know it's a buzzword, but authenticity. Because if you're not being authentic, you get found out eventually, because you can't keep up that trade for long enough. But the steps, like we would go through it, we build a core foundation for a brand. So we build it in a strategic way, and you'll be going through some of the cores. It's involved, but you go through who, what, how are you different, who are your audience, and what type of expression, what type of tone of voice goes into that. So if we say, for instance, we take the who side of it, it's who are you as a business? Where does your experience lie? Where does your credibility lie? Because that's the best place to start. And maybe you're innovating from there, but if you can get to that core first. And what you and I do is we take that and we ask a business, how do you want to be remembered? Think of the business as a person. 30 years down the line, they've passed away. What would you want someone to say in that eulogy or that obituary about you? Because that really gets you thinking forward to where you want to be and the business, the brand you want to build. And it helps just get to that essence, because that's what it is.
People love the eulogy concept, don't they? When we
they
share,
do.
Hey guys, we're going to do the eulogy of your business. Like, I don't want my business to die. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And starting with it is just so incredibly jarring, but it really gets those creative juices flowing. But it's and most of what we do is very practical in that. We just get a little bit esoteric with that bit, which is the fun bit, but then it's all about the practical side of it. But once you've got that worked out, you're building, I guess, kind of pillars or filters to go through. So the next one becomes what? And that's sometimes the easy one. Sometimes it's not as clear because you might be doing a lot, but it is, what do you do? And how can we communicate that simply? Because the world is full of clutter, full of message clutter. brand clutter, design clutter, feature clutter. And the brain doesn't want to take all that in. It wants to remember something small and relevant. So how can you cut through all that nonsense? So you need to figure out what you do and how to communicate it in a simple way. But then the big one, and like people like Dave Clare teach on this one, who you've had Dave on six weeks ago or so, it's that why do you do it? That purpose behind your business. Where is that going? It's beyond making money and profit, of course. Why are you serving the people you serve? That really gets at the core as well. And from
it's got to stand you apart, right? I mean, because especially if you're in a crowded or, let's call it a red ocean, which, it's pretty obvious what that means, right? It's a bloodbath. So let's just say I was going to say accountant, but you know what? Let's just say you're in marketing because, frankly, who isn't? And so and obviously so it's a big space. There's so many different niches and areas that you could work in. But if you don't have a why that you can start to bring into some of your positioning to show what you do, why you do it, and then what's going to set you apart from the next person, except for price, right? And not everyone, well, most people don't necessarily make a decision just on price. Price is a factor, but not the entire decision-making sort of protocol. So they want to know why they want to feel like they're aligned with your values. And that's what you have to bring through, right?
Oh, definitely. And it's all in that alignment. But the thing with your purpose, sometimes it does make you different, sometimes it doesn't. But you've got to figure out in that, you bring it out and you figure out why you are different. What is that bit that sets you apart? And Marty Newmar, again, best way I've found that description is, what can you say about your business that your competitors can't or won't claim for themselves? Now, that sounds like it's shit. Where do I start on that one? And it is tough. It really is. But even for a small business, like a sole trader, like your plumber, and Steve down the road is doing the exact same things, same service, targeting the same people. There is something in how Steve goes about his business, how he interacts with his clients, that make them come back to him. That's why he's different. And that's the authentic side of it. So if you can combine that with your purpose, you're really you're onto a winner there. As long as it's compelling and you're not a dickhead.
All right. So let's say you've worked out your why, and I'll put that as a bit of a take that with a grain of salt, because I think many businesses way deep into their business career still don't really have a why nailed, or they might have a ballpark why, but not nailed, and that's okay. It's something I'm certainly, in my perspective, I've refined and gone through that why many times. And, you've got your hand up as well, because it's not something that you can necessarily know at the start, right? You don't necessarily know everything that you are, everything you want to be at the start of, your business. So that's fine. But let's say your why, you understand that sort of, where do you then go from here?
So you think about talking about why, and then you figure out why you're different as well. Because why you're different could be different to the why.
And
it's why you're different that we're talking, that is very core to the positioning. If the why,
give me a good example of that, something that you've worked on, maybe recently or not. But I'll give you 10 seconds here to sort of get an idea in your head of something you've worked on. But what is the why different? What's an example where you've worked with someone, and you started with the plumber, Steve, but let's go with another, because I think these are good to drum in. What's an example of why, or how you can create some differentiation against others, in a very red ocean, in a bloodbath, so to speak, and create your own, even I know people are able to sort of create their own blue ocean in and amongst the red ocean, so to speak. And do you have something that you can share with us for that?
Yeah, look, there's a company I'm working with. They started as a commercial diving company, and they've moved into robotics and robotic cleaning of, big mine site ponds, tanks, et cetera. And their feeling was it was the technology that made them different, and that was what they should lead with. And to an extent, it is what makes them different, and it is what they need to lead with, but it's not what matters to the client. And that's where the difference comes into play as well. What mattered to the client is what the way they do things means, particularly on these sites, on these power plants, there's no downtime. So downtime means you have to shut down to do something, which costs some of these places millions and millions per day. And that was their core point of difference, their USP. It's our technology minimizes and in a lot of cases eliminates downtime. And what did that mean to the clients? Saving a lot of money and remaining operational to be making money. So does that answer your question?
Of course.
Good.
No, that's a good example. And that's what I wanted to sort of harp on this point, because then this is really where you can move yourself into a different space. And you used an acronym there, USP, which some will be familiar with, maybe others not so much. But do you want to just dig into what a USP is and how you utilize it in your positioning of your business?
Yeah, it's that unique selling proposition. It's what we've just been banging on about for the last 5 or 10 minutes. It's that thing that makes you different to everyone else operating in your market. It's called a true line. Marty Newmark calls it your zag. When everyone zigs, you zag. So you take the different approach, and it's so important, because if everyone is the same, what are they going to choose you based on? Most of the time,
they've got no choice, right? They've got no choice but to pick price. And the last thing you want to be doing is being chosen for price or suggesting that you're the cheapest. And so
one person can be the cheapest.
The true cheapest.
Your unique selling point.
And you can race them to the bottom.
And it's a race to the bottom. And pretty much every business owner out there knows what happens when people choose based on price. Everyone's experienced it.
Yeah. So can things like we're a systemized operation and we're honest and trustworthy, or we're reliable, can these be USPs?
No, bollocks. Because everyone else can claim them. Oh, we have the best people. Yeah, right. Prove it. Oh, we're the most efficient. It's like, well, that guy said it as well. It's what can you say about your business that no one else can claim about theirs?
So it's not even necessarily about being the best service or the best product, is it? I mean, it's something that you can genuinely say is unique about you.
Yeah, because that's what people remember. Sorry, I clicked into that.
Clicking's fine.
That's what's going to remember, because if your USP is good enough, you've got to get it short enough and clear enough that it's going to be compelling and memorable. The longer something is, the harder it is to remember.
Yeah. So the question is to sort of write down, what makes you memorable, and what, sometimes that can be, that can be anything, right? It doesn't have to be related to what makes you a great business and the right provider, but you've got to be memorable to stand out for the rest of them. I'm just trying to think of an example that came up recently, but I haven't got a good one to share in that particular space, other than, for example, I'll use myself. And sometimes, I own a marketing business, and I've been in marketing for a long time. And something I do use as one of my, I guess, unique identifiers is that I'm an accountant. I'm a former accountant, and that's not usual in this type of industry, because most people come through from a creative space or come from somewhere different and find their way here. So I use it, and I've heard people say to me before, "Oh, you're the accountant that's in marketing now," or whatever. That's just an example of saying something that my competitors or otherwise can't necessarily repeat or relate to, because they can't go back into the history and do that. And we've all got, something from, our past or something we do right now that's unique, whether it be geography or, just look and search out for those things that can be somewhat unique within your story, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like that is that's an awesome USP around you and Visible, because it speaks to your understanding of business. It's a different understanding than a lot of the people coming through the creative side have, and that's your understanding resonates more with your more corporate business clients because they see, creative business, but they get it.
That's right. Well, not even just corporate, but also more just business owners, because they can then identify with me as having been in their shoes versus just someone looking to move a product, because that's what you become if you've got nothing to say. You're just another person with a product, another guy, another girl with a product. And what's the price? You know, how can I stack up the prices, because that's all I've got to offer, right? So we've got some questions. I'm going to dig into a question or two in a minute, but so we've gone that, we've got USPs, we've got our whys, we've got that to bring to the occasion. What do we do now?
Figure out your audience. So it's you need to think about your audience and what matters to them, because while your messaging needs to be consistent and aligned with the brand, you may speak to them in slightly different ways based on what they care about. So you might map out some different audience personas and how they get to, you know, discovering you, to converting, and then on to becoming an advocate and recommending you and things like that. So you've got to take that. Once you figure them out, you go put it through the filter of why you're different, because that's core. And then you start thinking about your tone of voice. Are you an energetic business? So you're really excited in how you in your messaging, in your marketing messaging, or even on the phone. Are you a caring business? Is it all about that nurturing side, helping people? Are you trying to be the authority in your space? So you're a bit more direct. It's very concise speak. So you start to work that out and base it on who you're speaking to as well. But it has to be the authentic side of the authenticity in your business. Otherwise, again, you're going to get found out if it's not. It might create short-term gains. So you're like, you take this tactical marketing campaign that is more about this is what will get people to buy, but it's not particularly aligned to the essence of your business. So they may come to buy, and then their experience doesn't match their expectation. You haven't matched it or exceeded it. It'll damage your credibility. So that's why I'm getting the authentic side in there. And
so can I just jump in and ask a question? So in being authentic, are we allowed to stretch? Are we allowed to sort of, you know, step a little bit above maybe who we are right now, knowing that we want to be that or be authentic at that level? Like, does that make sense? Like, how do you treat that when you're dealing with new people and new business, and they're sort of saying they're here and maybe they're down here? I know there's definitely the people that say they're this amazing business and they're way off the mark, but is it reasonable to sort of nudge and sort of use it as a driver of culture, that this is who we are and this is who we want to be?
Perfectly reasonable to do it, because it's branding can be aspirational, so long as you're taking steps and you're on your way there. I'll echo Dave Clare in that the steps you're taking to achieve your vision, that's part of your brand, and as long as you're taking those steps, you're elevating the business to the level of the brand you're creating. But brands aren't created straight away; they're created over time, because it's what they say. So it's the people you've interacted with, the clients, the customers you've interacted with. It's the perception you're creating in their mind. Now, if you've influenced it in the right way, you're creating your brand, you're creating that solid reputation. But 100% yes, in answer to that question. If as long as you're taking steps to build your culture in that way and build your service in that way, then it's going to work, because it can be seen.
So if these are our sort of core steps, right? So what do we do now? Like, can I go back and go through this myself as a DIY? Do I use help? Like, how do I really take another step if I'm a small business here?
Both. Some people are going to be able to do it DIY, but for a lot of people, and we've experienced this, it's painful, because it's I'll use an analogy of someone in and around this space, Sarah Burke, and it's like trying to read the label on the bottle from inside the bottle. right?
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And you know what? Do you know how often I try and read my label, myself? And, obviously with being blessed with a team that can do this and, work in this space, you still need, you need some, you need some perspective in some way, some external input in some way. And it doesn't mean you have to necessarily pay for it, but you can't give yourself a proper reflection, because you just hold your bias, right?
Pretty much, and you're doing it in a vacuum. And yeah, so really, there are plenty of people out there that can help. There are people that really help on the culture side and aligning your business and your culture to the brand you're trying to build, and vice versa. All right, with people like us, we're working on the brand side. We are helping them figure all of this out and really getting in deep to, on the other side, have something compelling that they can go forward with and set themselves apart.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, so you can do it yourself, and there's a whole lot of ways that you could just search up stuff online and find ways to dig into your brand and your audience, and we've probably got some downloads even that you could jump off get off the Visible website. And very soft plug, we do workshops in this sort of space as well, if you wanted to get involved and wanted us to get involved to help. But you can take steps to find ways to position yourself and stand out from the crowd all by yourself. It's not something you have to necessarily pay for, because one key thing, and from an agency standpoint, I'm sure you'll agree with me, is it needs involvement from the business. It's not something you can just throw money at and get someone to do for you. It has to have your DNA within it. And I think that's really important. So what I'm going to just quickly jump into is I think there's a question or two. And one question I've got here from Najma. Hopefully I've spelt or hopefully that's accurate. But the question is, should I concentrate on personal or business branding, and which is better, or are both?
Oh, there's no right or wrong answer there, because it depends on the business. Are you just a business? Then if the business is only ever you, your personal brand is your business brand, so you can interweave them. If you have a business but you also have a good profile, you've got a good reputation separately, and you're down the line, you could move into other businesses or have multiple businesses, then you might be wanting to build up your personal brand more, because that's what's driving it. But you have to be aware of that your business then lives and dies on your ability to drive business to it. So when you try and bring someone in to do some business development for you, your clients are only thinking of you as the business. They're not thinking of the business.
It's such a big question, right? And actually it's very personal, because you've got huge personal brands like Tony Robbins that even have an army of Tony Robbins coaches and that underneath. So he's well and truly surpassed him even needing to be the top level of his own brand in many ways. But in other stretches, you might be better off being your own business and company name. It's, from my perspective, and on social media, it's often a little easier to start out being your own name, because you can share on personal profiles and you can build up a business that way. It's a little harder to just start a company name from scratch. But the best method is to probably pick both and do a little bit of both. I would lean on one as 80-20, more focus on one than the other, from my perspective. But if you're genuinely in a space where it makes sense to have personal and or business brand, like you might be in an accounting space or even a marketing space, it depends on what products, what services you're doing. But it's really hard one. But the one thing I would say is, don't let that stop you by not being sure. So
go and build that reputation.
Start one, build the other, combine them both, make a mistake, split them later, whatever. I've seen a lot of people start one and effortlessly be able to start the other side very quickly because one of them's working. So I've seen personal brands all of a sudden flip that brand into something else and then restart their own personal brand. I've seen a lot happen in my time. So there's plenty of options and there's no wrong answer. I've got another question from Amy, which pretty closely down the same line. So interesting that Yeah, this the questioning or the line of questioning around personal brands. But yeah, what about personal branding?
It says who's on the live. It tells you about what type of businesses they are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, which is good. So
Yeah.
what about it? When in industries where personal branding is more important than company branding, is it the same ideas? And the answer is yes, from my perspective. And what do you think?
Oh, definitely. It is definitely yes. If the industry is more personal brand driven and it's all that one-to-one type of consultancy type stuff, you just keep building your own one.
Yeah,
and center it all around that one.
If you've got let's call it if you're a lawyer and accountant, for example, right? People come to that firm for the name, but also let's call it a big name firm, like not Mr. Jones, practice, a big name firm. People go to the people, and so the people that win and generate business within those firms are the ones that really have control. Like, so if a key person wanted to step out and start in a new firm or go somewhere else, they would take a lot of people and clients and all that with them. So if I was just in a professional services space, I would help my company, but I would be building my own personal brand and letting my ideas out on my own site, using that to feed work into my company. But also knowing that I had a bit more control or maybe a lot to offer in a negotiation around, equity, my income, whatever that was, I would use that because we're in a position where we can. And if business owners or forward thinking business owners will like the fact that you put effort into building your reputation and brand yourself. And as I said, that's your business. It's your personal business. And it's up to you to make the most income you can, to have the best reputation, network you can. That's on you.
I think that's perfect because it's absolutely perfect, and that's happening organically anyway. Because if you are out there driving as a person, driving business towards a larger entity, so you're, say, a business development manager, you are building your personal network and you're just building your personal brand organically because they know you, they see you as the face of that business. So if you then take that further and intentionally build a personal brand, like you were talking about, what maybe you've got a website as well and you're using that to funnel clients into your employer's business, that's awesome. It puts you, it gives you a lot of bargaining power, like you said. They know with you gone, people go, but they know you there, and with such a powerful brand of your own, they know you're going to drive their business higher than without you.
That's it. Well, we've already busted over half an hour, which we were trying to keep it down to for this lunchtime learning experience. Enough of a chance for people, well, certainly for people in Western Australia, to grab a quick bite and watch this as well. So, Dale, have you got anything else that you wanted to add on this? On how to position your business and brand to stand out from the crowd?
No, I think we've probably given people quite a bit to think about. I mean, you don't need to talk design because that's an expression that's got to be matched up as well. But you got to work this stuff out first. Otherwise, you're like with a reason, you're kicking a can down the road and you just change the color, but you still don't know where you're going. So yeah. I think figure this stuff out first.
Awesome.
That's where
100%. So if people are watching this later, which no doubt many will, still drop a comment in. We'll do our best to answer anything that we can in commentary as opposed to on the actual live. But thanks for watching. And I mean, if you want to hear a bit more about it, we'll be in the Facebook group. So if anyone wants to jump onto the Amplified Army Facebook group and hear about some more lives coming up, we'll be sharing plenty over the next few months at least of these types of sessions, and you're welcome to jump in there and also let us know what you'd like to hear about. But in terms of branding and how to position your brand, then reach out to Dale or myself, and then you can certainly write something in the comments, and we'll be happy to share a bit more later, and maybe even do it again if there's some questions that need answering. So, thanks, Dale, so much for jumping on the call and helping shed some light on this branding. And I hope people utilize or picked out a couple of those nuggets in there and applied them, to their own business. And maybe there's something that they can do to help themselves, during what we're in, which is a little bit, difficult times for many. And what you can do is at least not be just one of the same, the same box on the shelf, so to speak. At least change your color or change this or change that. Do something to stand out, right?
Yeah,
and that's the key. So yeah, thanks, Dale, and
thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for jumping on board, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Ciao.